Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jay Guerin with Proag Bankware Technology. I have on the call with me Mike Hinton. Mike Hinton is the president of Proag Bankware, and we're having a discussion the other day where realistically, when selling software, particularly in the ag vertical, it's all about relationships. Relationships are really the glueware for business with producers and banks and the like. But part of that relationship, a key ingredient is support. Your banking customers have to feel like they're supported, and your producers have to feel like they're supported. Otherwise, they'll go somewhere else. And Michael attests to the fact that when we started ProAg Bankware Technology, we were kind of smiling because we knew we could do a better job of supporting our customers than the other guys, a lot better. We heard the horror stories from where their customers and the banks were not getting supported. They would call in to one of our competitors. They would say, "Hey, I got a problem with this." And the guy who was in charge of the technology would say, "Well, I can't fix that right now because my guys are out to lunch." I tell that story over and over again. It's pretty insane. And believe it or not, this was one of their largest customers that they did this to. So, one thing I said, hey, we ought to talk about some of our opportunities, kind of like a best of ProAg Bankware Technology, and share some of our stories. So I said, Mike, let's do this. And the first one, if I remember correctly, Mike, had to do with a kind of certain, kind of a special wedding, if I'm not mistaken. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, Jay. And yeah, what he's referring to almost got me divorced. We were at our youngest son's wedding down in the Caribbean, and about an hour before the wedding was to start, I got a call from one of our banks that was having some issues and had a customer coming in and needed to get those issues resolved. So I excused myself, much to the displeasure of my wife and my son. Uh, Walked outside of the venue and spent about 30 minutes on the phone with the customer, then made a phone call back to our developer and was able to get their problem resolved and got back to the wedding with 10 minutes to spare. So it was all good. But let's just say that wasn't one of my more probably brilliant decisions I've ever made. But we took care of the customer, and as Jay said, in the software business and my experiences and the relationship is you've got to deliver that customer service. You've got to take care of their customers and make sure that they're taken care of and that their problems get resolved in a timely fashion.
So, what was the customer's problem?
They were having an issue because they had deleted a financial statement they had done, but they had that financial statement tied to another part of the program, their spreading document. So it was causing an issue. The spreading document wasn't working. Once we identified the problem, we reattached that financial statement to the spreading document, and that took care of everything.
So to recap it, the customer oopsied. They
Yes.
broke it. Your son's having a wedding. You stopped what you were doing to go fix something that a customer had created and got them up and running. That's
Yes.
hmm, that's that's pretty cool. That you got to think about that. If it was a true system issue or system outage, that's one thing. But for them to create the error and then want you to fix it, that's a whole nother. That's pretty stellar. I don't think the other guys would do that. I really don't. But
Well,
one thing I'll mention is, in the software business, when you're creating calculations and spreading and all that stuff behind the scenes, kind of like AI, it really falls in line with, you really never know how the sausage is made. You just want the goodness coming out of it. And I know you've gotten challenged a couple times, Mike, with customers calling in and saying, "Oh, the calculation's wrong" or something like that. What's your reckoning with some of those opportunities?
I will bet anybody any amount of money that our calculations are all 100% accurate. It's very important to have accurate. We calculate all of our ratios to the Farm Financial Standards Council, to their recommendations. I was on our board of directors for a number of years, so calculations have to be correct in this business. And so it's generally we run into those issues when you have someone who's not used to making ag loans and you've got some different nuances in how some of those ratios are calculated compared to, let's say, commercial or some of those things. But we've gone through, we've tested all of our ratios. They've been independently verified. So I have, anytime someone says we're calculating something incorrectly, I'll get on the phone with them and walk through how we calculate it, and then show them a real life example in the software to show them that no, our calculations are spot on.
Huh. And let me guess, you're genuinely delicate with the person on the other end of the phone when you're in so many words telling them they're wrong.
Always, always.
And let me guess, they're always wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. It gets down to one of the very first supervisors I ever worked for said it's all in how you deliver the message when you talk to people like that. And he looked at me and he said, if I tell you to go to hell, you're going to be pretty mad at me. I said, yeah. He goes, but if I tell you to take the primrose path to the everlasting fire, you're kind of looking forward to the journey, aren't you? So it's just in how you deliver that message. Get it across firmly but delicately.
Nice. Well, I know, from before you and I got together and started building the greatest financial software package ever, ProAg Bankware Technologies Anycore. You used to be a big guy, big man on campus for FSA. And for those of you who don't know, FSA is one of the largest financial organizations when it comes to agriculture financing, agriculture loans, and all of that. You had a lot of experience with them, didn't you? Does that ever follow you around? Like, your old FSA days and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, it's the vast majority of my 37-year ag lending career was with FSA, to the point that when I retired, I was in charge of portfolio management for them. And we've designed the software and all of our forms in the FSA sort of, for lack of a better term, prototype. Basically, we can create our forms that we create are acceptable and meet FSA requirements for guaranteed lending, et cetera. Got a phone call one day from one of our bankers who had put together a guaranteed application for FSA using our software, and he called me and said he didn't know what was going on. He took everything into the local FSA office, and the farm loan manager in that office told him it was unacceptable, that he had to redo everything on the FSA forms. I happen to know a lot about that FSA guaranteed program because I helped write those regulations. And it basically says the forms just have to contain the same information as FSA. That nowhere does it say you have to use their forms. So I got the name of the farm loan manager this particular banker was working with, where they were at, and I called him and explained to him, what I used to do and some other things. And he responded back to me that was his office, he was in charge, and he decided what was acceptable and not acceptable. Well, to me, that's the wrong answer. And I politely told him that the regulations determined what was acceptable and not acceptable, not him. So as soon as I got off the phone, I immediately called the national office, director of guaranteed lending, and the farm loan chief for that state, explained what was going on. Friends with both of them, worked with both of them for a number of years. They had me send them the application package our banker took in to the local office there. About 2 hours later, I got a call from the banker, and all he said is, I don't know what you did, but I just got off the phone with that farm loan manager. He apologized and told me that the guarantee had been approved at the national level. So that's just a case that I knew our software was right and it's doing the right thing, and not letting somebody try to do the wrong thing with a power play or something like that.
I like that. So what you're saying is, if you're a ProAg Bankware customer, You also get free FSA support. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. You get, you actually can, if you become if you become a ProAg customer, you actually have a pretty experienced senior loan officer now that's a de facto member of your staff.
I
I'll
love
help
it.
you with loan analysis, anything you need help with.
That's awesome. Are there any other
And,
stories you wanna bring me up to speed on?
well, just and in that same vein, it's probably been about a month ago. I got a call about 10 o'clock one night from one of our bank customers, and I don't think they expected me to answer the phone, but I did answer the phone. And they were having trouble looking at a loan. They had a pretty complicated deal they were looking at, and they weren't sure about it, and just asked me if I'd mind taking a look at it with them. So I jumped on the computer, went through it with them, looked at what they'd put together, looked at the numbers. And once we kind of looked at everything and discussed it, my comment was, if you make this loan, you need to be really careful and keep an eye on it. And the bank chief credit officer said, "So you're telling me you would deny the loan?" And I replied, "That's not what I said. What I said was it's your decision, but if you decided to make it, you need to keep a really close eye on it." And he kind of laughed. He said, "Okay, so you're telling me that this is a loan that we were going to spend a lot of time monitoring?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "That's what I needed to hear." So if you need help working on a loan, I'm more than happy to look at the numbers with you and go over things. Because that true story, Jay, and you and I have talked about this. When I was at my position in FSA, I did not like software sales guys
Yeah.
because I just didn't see a lot of worth in what they did. And I retired, and suddenly I woke up, and I was one of those guys that I didn't
Yeah.
like. So I decided I was going to be the software person that banks like to see. I was going to be helpful, give them good service, and take care of their needs and make sure that we kept them happy with our service and our software.
Mm, it's nice. Now, how many years were you with FSA?
37.
Holy smokes, that story you just told, that's one of the things I took away from it is you took their call at 10 o'clock and well, that would be 24/7 support, wouldn't it?
Pretty much. If I'm awake and you call me at 2 in the morning, I'll answer the phone and talk to you.
I,
No,
oh, I wonder
we want to support you.
I wonder if those other guys, Finastra and Sino, Abrigo, I wonder if they do that. I'll have to look into that. I don't think they do, but I'll take a look anyway, just to make sure I'm not starting rumors.
The other good thing from our standpoint with our service is that if you do need help, all of our support personnel are former ag loan officers, loan
Yeah,
officials. So they're going to understand what you're talking about. They know which end of a cow you stick an AI needle in.
yeah.
So we focus, on making sure that we have the right people to provide our banks the service and the answers they need when they've got a question or a problem.
Now we have a former FSA director working for you on support, Jim Redence.
Right.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, he was actually my boss at FSA. He was the deputy administrator for farm loans. So he was in charge of everything related to farm loans with FSA, from loan making to loan servicing to loan liquidation to working with the House and Senate Ag committees on farm bills
Wow.
regarding FSA legislation. So Jim and I worked together for a long time, and he retired and I retired, and he very graciously agreed to jump on with us and provide us support and help, and works with us on architecting a lot of the stuff that we do, as well as customer support.
Yeah. So where do you see AI plugging into ag lending in the very near future?
It's going to be that's an interesting question from the standpoint of, if you used AI much from an ag lending perspective, an ag perspective, you get some interesting answers. I think, uh, for example, Jim Redence was playing around one day, and he asked if today would be a good day to sell his corn crop because he farms now. The response he got from AI was, it could be, it could not be, it depends on the price. Well, really. But there are some things with AI where it comes in handy. I think it's going to slowly evolve into ag, but I
Yeah,
think it's going to be kind of a more of a crawl than a run, like it's been in some other areas. Just because if you think about ag, there are so many variables. You got the weather, you got foreign markets, you got disease.
yeah,
It's just there's just so many variables affecting what goes on in ag that it's hard for AI to sort of crunch all those different potential combinations you've got.
yeah. Well, one thing I'll mention is, we talk a lot about ag. Ag is in, the name ProAg. But I know ProAg has a very robust commercial product in their small business package,
Correct.
and it's very cool. And am I to understand that you're now kind of becoming a commercial lending guy too?
Absolutely not. No, no, we do have a small business, but when that particular piece was developed, I spent a lot of time on the phone with commercial lenders at banks that are customers of ours, professors from the Kelley School of Graduate Management at Indiana University, and sought out the experts in that field to build that, and they've been slowly educating me. So I
Ah,
can say I understand commercial lending,
yep.
but I'm in nowhere near as much about commercial lending as I do ag lending.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do like about the ProAg platform more so than the other guys is the ProAg platform is designed to give you the right number of tools to do the job when you need them. We don't put a lot of bloated software or functionality that the producer would never use in there. That keeps the price lower, keeps the footprint lower, and it's easier to learn from. I know you had a huge hand in that because at one time when you were at FSA, you were using one of the other guys. In fact, well, you were Moody's Lending Cloud's largest customer at one time, weren't you?
Yes, that's correct. And my understanding is FSA still is.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, we focused on giving the lenders what they needed to make sound credit decisions in a very easy to understand, usable format, and didn't put a bunch of fluff and smoke and mirrors in there to make it seem like we did everything for everybody. Our
Yeah.
software is very focused, and very usable, both on
Mhm.
the ag and the commercial side.
Well, one of the things that you were instrumental in creating is kind of the one aspect of the software that nobody else has, and that's the front end, the producer's portal, which gives every banking customer who works with a bank a front end to their account and to the bank, and some very, very unique tools that will help them from basically a financial perspective.
Right.
That's been pretty popular, hasn't it?
Yeah, what we did was when we created that customer portal, I spend a lot of time talking to Dr. David Cole from Virginia Tech. Live near him, work with him. Been doing work with him since the early '90s, and one of the things that he said, and when I was at FSA, we got most criticized for was that we didn't have financial tools to allow a farmer to do their own financials and sort of understand where they're at, and understand how lenders make decisions, because most farmers don't understand how a lender makes their decision. So in addition to giving them the financial statements and things like that on their borrower side, we let them build their own spreading document to look at their ratios, how they're trending, so they can start to see some of the numbers that a lender also looks at, that it's more than just, did I pay my loan last year? Uh, Things like that. I made money last year. That, in fact, I was talking to one farmer, and he made the comment to me that, and he was using our software, that he couldn't understand why his bank was giving him a hard time this year because he had made his loan payment. Well, got online with him. We started looking at his numbers, which is the nice thing, because as a lender, you can look at the same thing that farmer's looking at and talk about their numbers. And we brought up the spreading document on the farmer side, And I showed him by looking at his numbers that yes, he made his payment, but he was able to make his payment because he liquidated about half his breeding cow herd. And
Oh,
so
okay.
because of that, his income was not going to be nearly as high this year as it was last year, which allowed him to make that payment. And suddenly you could kind of see his eyes light up, and he understood that it's more than that he just make a payment. It's how did he make the payment? And based on how he got the money to make that payment, is that going to affect his income in subsequent years?
Yep. Isn't that kind of cooking the books?
No, no,
No,
it's legitimate. It's just, but you've got to be aware of those kind of things as a lender.
certainly. Um, that's really cool. Um, I don't want this to go on all day because I could sit here. I appreciate you taking the time to sitting down and talking about this stuff. We need to do this a lot more. Um, but some of the things that you've said and shared with us is why Dr. David Cole is a really good friend of ours. He's been instrumental and he likes what we're doing, or at least he tells us he likes what we're doing, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I would venture a guess that 9 out of 10 people who watch this video will know Dr. David Cole. So, um, tell you what, I'm going to wrap it up, Mike.
Okay.
Again, we're ProAg Bankware Technology. We have financial tools and services that make making loans easy. It makes your banking customers feel like they're part of the solution versus just hanging on for the ride. Our commercial product, small business product, um, we have some very revolutionary things in there that make your life a whole lot easier. And if you like to know more, or you just want to talk to Mike, y'all don't want to talk to me because I just warm a chair all day, but Mike's the smart one. And if you want to know more about it, we'd love to talk to you. Again, that's ProAg Bankware Technology. The product is Anycore. You can call Mike at 703-283-4961. You can call Sean McCary, who does sales, at 402-505-2908, or give me a call and I'll just make stuff up for you. 402-319-2909. I thank y'all for viewing and look forward to doing more of these podcasts for you. Again, Jay Guerin, Mike Hinton, thank you and have a great day.